All right, what is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? You've come here for the truth, and I am here to give it to you. So I got a question on the comments of one of my other videos, and what's his name? Eternal Ending. He says, perhaps you could talk about how you're able to gain self-confidence and get over your insecurities. I've talked about some of my insecurities when I was younger because I did have a pretty bad stutter. If you've seen the King's Speech, that was pretty much how I was able to communicate. And I had a lot of self-image issues because of like self-worth and self-image issues, mostly because of these scars that I got when I was about 2 years old. You know, you can see them on my neck and my arms, and they're on my chest. And he said it would definitely help the younger people, college and younger, on here. I guess, well, insecurities is something that everybody always deals with. So let's go for a drive. We'll deal with that. Got a few errands to run. Right, so insecurities. How did I deal with my insecurities? Self-worth, self-image, being able to communicate, you know, getting through the stutter, that sort of stuff. You just have to tackle them head on. You know, if you've got opposite ends of the spectrum, obviously. You've got this side over here, which might be your insecurity as far as, you know, who you are and what you might be, and then this is the self-confidence side of the scale. And you want to move from total insecurity to self-confidence. Wow, it's hot in here. All you have to do is push yourself over here, and that'll get you to where you're not insecure and in fact secure. So I'll deal with the stuttering part. How did I deal with the stuttering part? You know, they tried to put me through all these classes when I was in school, guidance counseling, to try to aid with the communication. And you know, like I said, it was really bad. Go and watch the trailer of the King's Speech, and you'll get an idea of how bad my stutter was. Because it took me a while to get through it. Like even into my 20s, I had a hard time communicating and sometimes spitting ideas out because of my insecurities about myself. And it all stemmed really from that accident I had when I was 2, when I poured hot water on myself and burned myself. So I got through the communicating part simply by communicating a lot more. I would sing songs, you know. I would punch out lyrics of songs that I was belting out. You know, I was really into music as a young boy and teenager. Grew my hair long, really into heavy metal and listened to all that stuff all the time. And I would belt out the tunes, and that was one thing that was able to that really helped me, you know, communicate and get thoughts out. Then I would read a shitload of books, and a lot of the books that I would read, I would often read the passages out, you know, paragraph through paragraph, sometimes out loud, to try to communicate those stories and those thoughts. To this day, I still even use this YouTube channel to help hone my communication skills, because it's like public speaking. You know, it's a difficult thing for anybody that has or has had insecurities in the past. And how did I deal with, you know, my self-worth and my body image issues? Well, it was pretty bad. Like I would go to the beach with my cousins and brothers, and I would be the only kid there that wouldn't take his shirt off. I'd be swimming in the water with a t-shirt on because I didn't want people to see my scars on my chest and my arms and my neck. And even when I was a little kid going through school, anytime I'd meet somebody new, they'd always, you know, go like this and be like, "Oh, what happened?" And they grab their neck like there was something wrong with me, like I was gross. And that, you know, it made me really insecure. I didn't have a ton of friends in high school. I always felt like people didn't think highly of me. I didn't feel like I had any worth to myself, you know. Didn't even have girlfriends until I was like 19 or 20. Was a virgin until like 20 or so, 19 or 20. It was tough, and I started dealing with the insecurity of my physical image by improving my physical image. You know, like I said, if you're here, for me, I was like super skinny, and I wanted to change my physical image. Well, I did that. You know, it took me years. Like, there's no overnight success. There's no overnight, you know, pill that I could give you, or some magic cream that you could rub on that would make your scars go. Trust me, I tried. You know, my parents would go get pure vitamin E oil from the health food store, and I'd rub it on my scars. And it didn't matter what you did, nothing that you rubbed on my scars would change their image. You know, there was all this belief of snake oil existing, some magic pill you could swallow or some cream you could rub on that would, you know, take, you know, years off your life or help you lose weight or make you look better. None of that shit worked. It was all incremental changes day by day for me that helped me deal with the insecurities. Communicating more, belting out songs more, you know, belting out the lyrics while I was singing them, reading books and communicating those paragraphs and passages out loud. You know, the body side of things. How do you change your body? How do you feel more confident in your body? You work out. You know, you pick up heavy shit, you put it down, and you do it over and over again. For me, I did a ton of push-ups. I started doing this around, I don't know, 14, 15, maybe 16 years old. I started doing up to 200 push-ups at a time. And what it did was it developed a thick, strong chest. And it got to the point where by the time I was 18 or 19, I felt confident enough to take my shirt off and go to the beach. I felt so confident, even in my early 20s, I remember girlfriends would get pissed off because I could be somewhere down at the beach with friends, and they would make, like her friends would make comments like, oh, who's a Calvin Klein underwear model? Like me, like I never saw myself as being a Calvin Klein underwear model when I was 15 or 16 and I had a stutter and I didn't like who I was, and I would you know, refuse to take my shirt off at the beach or even in the change room at gym class. Very awkward, very insecure. And then there I was, you know, in my early 20s, exceptionally secure and confident in who I was, and nothing had changed. I was still the same. I still had scars on my body, on my neck, chest, and arms. The scars did not change. The only thing that changed was inside my head, and I started to love myself, and that's what made the difference. Loving yourself is what makes the big difference when it comes to insecurities. Whatever it is that you're insecure about, stop being insecure about it. You know, there's tons of different ways that you can do it. You know, hiding it, like I would hide myself under thick puffy sweaters when I was a kid. And good thing in Canada it's cold in the wintertime because that worked. But me wearing a thick puffy sweater because I was a skinny kid with scars in, you know, May or June, I looked like a fucking idiot when everybody else was wearing t-shirts and tank tops. So that stuff only goes so far. That'll only work for so long. So you really can't rely on that to an exceptional degree. You've got to, absolutely got to start loving yourself and accepting yourself for who you are. And if you cannot do that, you'll never be secure. You know, once you can get to that point where you're secure and you do love yourself and you accept who you are, sky's the limit. You know, sky's the limit. Some people will tell you that you're too confident or that you're cocky when you get there. Fuck them. Who cares? You know, people, you know, anybody that judges or criticizes you, and I've said this before, anybody that judges or criticizes you, it comes from a place beneath you. It does not come from a place above you. It always comes from a place beneath you. So you just have to get on with it and accept who you are. There's a little girl looking at this window watching me talk. You just have to accept who you are and what you're all about. And anybody that's going to judge or criticize you or hate you during that time, just ignore them. You know, let them be who they are. Let them be insecure. You know, there's this world that we live in today that's completely filled with political correctness, and you see two opposite ends of the spectrums. You see guys like Donald Trump, who just call shit as it is, and this other guy, Bernie Sanders, who's more on the political correct side. And I strongly believe that political correctness comes from insecurities. People trying to level the playing field and lower themselves so that everybody is accepted. It's like, let's accept obesity and let's love ourselves. Well, if you're obese, you're sick. You know, you've got a disease, cure it. You know, for me, if I was unable to speak concisely and clearly, deal with it. You know, learn how to deal with a stutter. If I had insecurities about my body image and my self-worth, deal with that, fix that sort of stuff. So I hope that shed some insight for you. Eternal ending. Thanks for the question. If there's any more Q&A things that you need doing, feel free to throw them in the comments below. Of course, follow me on social, Entrepreneurs in Cars, on Instagram and Facebook. And thanks for checking out the video. See you guys later. Peace.